Hello.
So what time is it right now in Brazil?
It's midnight.
Midnight. Ah, okay. So are you a night owl then? Do you get more energy at night or
Yes, yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's true. I
okay.
like to work and study at night. I guess it's really better.
Yeah, I am the same way. Normally, I'm like yesterday, I taught my time 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock class, and then at midnight, my sister and I went to Walmart
Oh,
and bought.
really?
Yeah, we went shopping, and we've decided we're not going to do that as much anymore. We'll go for groceries, but I'm tired of Walmart. So, but we went and bought her kids some clothes. Her daughter is going to be in a show at the local college for a kids choir for all the Frozen songs. It's called a Frozen review or something, and we wanted to get her a new dress so she could feel special, and so we got her sons some a new shirts. So um, their
Mhm.
ages are 5, 5, and 6, and her daughter has is just always singing and dancing and loves to be on stage. And so this is her first show of probably many. So
Okay, that's
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, and so I mentioned last night. I said we should get her a new dress, and Heidi was like, "Yeah, but when can we go? Are you free tomorrow?" And Thursday is my biggest busiest day. So I said, "Why don't we go after I'm finished teaching?" so,
Wow. At 10
so
o'clock is interesting because
yeah,
usually at 10 o'clock I don't want to go out anymore.
yeah, it was midnight actually. It was midnight because
Midnight.
yeah,
Wow.
I taught taught 10 and 11, so I was finished at midnight, and that's it was like really.
Yes.
So
And the Walmart is 24 hours.
yeah, 24. There's only one period that Walmart is actually closed, and that's I think 5 p.m. on Christmas Eve to 5 p.m. on Christmas Day. And the only reason I know that is one Christmas Eve, I went there and because I wanted to buy some things and it was closed. so
Okay. Yeah.
so so that's the only time that they're actually open. So
Mm.
anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I wonder if some of the other people from Brazil have gone to bed now. so,
Yeah, but
so
normally I used to see people here at that time, but I guess 11 p.m. it's better.
yeah, yeah. I think I have found that 7 o'clock has fewer people than 6. And then again, of course, it depends on the topic, depends on the teacher, depends on all kinds of things. So,
Yes,
but I
depend on the internet, depend on the traffic, depend on the city they live.
yeah, there's so many variables, and
Yeah.
some people, oh, of course, some people plan on coming, and then life gets in the way. so,
Yes.
so anyway, well, what we can do is go ahead and get started on this topic, and hopefully people will come and show up. And
Mhm.
if not, you get a private lesson with on a live recording. so
Yeah. And which time is it for you now?
for me, it's 7 p.m.
Oh,
So
really? Wow.
yeah, so
Mhm.
and about this time is seven. I don't really actually I don't teach at 7 p.m. very often. It's very rare for me to teach at this time. I teach it a lot of times. I teach it. Sometimes I teach it. Usually I teach at 9, and 8 and 9 is when the Russians and people from the Middle East and some Asians start taking classes, and people from South America. Some of them like from Central America are still awake, and they're taking classes, and
Mhm.
but and then it's interesting as the evening progresses, the different nationalities that are going to bed and waking up and so forth. So
Yes, yes, it's interesting because time zone is pretty weird. And
yeah,
sometimes, for instance, today. I needed, not yesterday, in fact, because it's more than midnight here, and I needed to talk with people from Peru,
Uh-huh.
and we have 3 hours difference. I am 3 hours ahead of them,
Uh-huh.
so we have to uh, make a calculus every time about the time, and
Uh-huh.
it's interesting because when I can talk, is there is there lunchtime or vice versa?
Yeah. Yeah. And then, well, and like for example, it was like at 2 p.m. Your time would be like about 5 p.m. is around the time that the Spaniards eat dinner. So,
Yes, that's it.
and many of the people from Spain will eat dinner and then they'll take a class right before bed, and then a lot of people from Europe will wake up and take a class right at 7 o'clock right before they go to work. So
Yeah.
it's at different times. So anyway, ethics and conduct. When you see those words, what do you think of?
I guess it's like a code some people follow. For instance, there are some ethics code in
Uh-huh.
schools and job and your life.
Hmm.
And those are the things you normally follow in your life or in your profession in
Hmm.
your school.
Hmm. Yeah.
Mhm.
And a lot of times, instead of ethics code, we'll actually call it a code of ethics in English.
Code of ethics.
Yeah,
Okay.
code of ethics. Yeah. Um, yeah, yeah, it definitely is, and it's interesting how, like time zones, everybody has a different code of ethics. so, so have you noticed
Yes,
that?
that's true.
I'm like, it, even even within the same family, which I find very interesting. Um, I don't know.
Yes, yes, of course.
Do you have any brothers and sisters?
I have just a sister.
Yeah. Do you find that you and her are very similar, or have you guys chosen completely different paths?
No, no, I guess we are totally different.
Uh huh. Yeah, because it's interesting. I have three brothers and my twin sister. And my twin sister and I are very close, and we have a similar code of ethics and conduct. But I'm not sure the same is about my brothers. So we're all very different, and we may have make different choices, have made different choices in our
Hmm.
life. So,
Hmm.
but
Yes, yes, but
but
okay.
yeah. So anyway, let's look at this. What are business ethics? Which of the following behaviors are ethical, and which are unethical, in your opinion? So what I'll do is I'll put an E next to the ones that are ethical and a U next to the other ones, and let's discuss this. So, like treating employees with respect, is that ethical or unethical?
Ethical.
Yeah, and um, and have you ever been in a workplace situation, Ramon, where you witnessed a boss not treating their employees with respect?
Sometime, but few times I think.
Uh-huh.
Mhm. But I don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
It never happened with me because I don't know. But if happened, probably I would have a bad react. I would start an argument, something like
Uh-huh.
that.
Uh-huh. Okay. All right. And hello, David. How are you today?
Hi, Holly. I am okay. What about you?
Very, very good. This is my last day before I take a weekend, a long weekend. I was telling Ramon about it in the last class. So
Oh, you must be excited
I am.
for the
I,
break.
I am. So, um,
Okay.
question
Yes.
for you. Question for you,
Yes.
David. Have you ever been in a workplace situation where, or even in a school situation with professors, where they did not treat their employees with respect?
Yes. Not in specifically not in a in a working place, but well, I had a teacher that was a little bit impolite with with the students,
Uh-huh.
and for example, he used to love of some students,
Mhm.
and well, I think that he doesn't have a appropriate behavior.
Yeah. So was he respected at all? I mean, did people like him or did people dislike him?
No, the people dislike it because when someone, for example, asking a question, he make jokes or laughing.
Uh-huh.
His personality was, how can I say that? Was strange.
Mhm. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. I think strange makes sense. So, okay, what we're doing, David, is we're talking about business ethics and we're looking at these behaviors, and we'll discuss whether these behaviors are ethical and are unethical, and then we'll also talk about whether we have seen this behavior or not. So, dealing with suppliers fairly, David, would you consider that ethical or unethical?
Dealing with suppliers fairly, I think is ethical.
Hmm. Okay.
Dealing with suppliers fairly. Mhm.
Yeah. And have you ever, have either of you, oh, we have another person. Hello, Wilson. Welcome. Okay. Wilson, we can hear you. We can hear you typing. So welcome.
Y sí parece que funciona. Ya se dijo uno, pero no vamos
Okay.
a esa cosa.
So have any of you ever been in a situation where you saw somebody deal with a supplier unfairly?
No, me, not me.
Not you. Ramon, have you ever seen that?
No, no, not me.
Okay. Wilson, are you there? Wilson? Okay. Well, bribery. Ramon, would you consider bribery ethical or unethical?
Totally unethical.
Unethical. Okay. How about you, Dave? David, is in your country would bribery be considered ethical or unethical?
Bribery.
Hmm.
Um, I don't remember very well the meaning.
Okay. Bribery is, for example, if
Okay. Unethical.
yeah. Okay. I didn't even have. Did you check your inner dictionary?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. Wilson, are you there? Okay, sounds like Wilson's having problems with his internet right now. So, have you guys ever witnessed someone doing a bribery?
No, I haven't. I have never seen, but normally we heard it every day here in Brazil
Hmm.
on television.
Okay, you've only seen it on TV. And
Yeah.
David, how about you? Have you ever heard about it or witnessed people?
Yes. Yes. For example, in when there is the election for president or for a politician, sometimes we heard in the news that there was something wrong in the campaign or they do some money to people for votes.
Hmm.
Yes,
Okay.
they are looking for favors.
Yeah, and the politics that's probably happens a lot in the U.S. too. So yeah, when I was in Korea, I was really surprised because they would have quite often have traffic stops. And one time I had gone to the beach with some friends, and on the way back, everybody was getting stopped. And my friend gave his driver's license, and under the driver's license was a bill of their currency, and he basically was paying them off to leave us alone. And it was I had never seen that before. I was like, really? So,
Wow.
Would that ever work in your country?
I don't know, some people try to do it, but usually people get wrong with that because it's a crime when you try
Mhm.
to give some bribe to the police or other public officer.
Mhm.
And I don't know how much time people used to spend on the jail because of that, but normally we see it on television. Someone trying to pay a money to a policeman,
Mhm.
but the policeman didn't accept, and they arrest people.
Mhm. Okay. And David, have you ever would it work in Colombia for a policeman to accept a bribe like that?
Yes, I have seen personally because, well, sometimes when my father was driving, going out of the city, like for the
Uh-huh.
suburbs here, my father used to speed or maybe used to do something wrong,
Uh-huh.
and a policeman stop him, and well, the situation was like, how can I say, embarrassing and uncomfortable because my father has to talk with him and say, "Could you help me?" or is any way that we can deal with this? And it's
Mhm.
like an indirect, but he obviously understand. And when he asked for the documents, my father put a bill there and everything, and I saw how he received the money, and he said, "Okay, let's go."
Oh wow. So you've actually seen it. Do you
Yes,
know
personally.
do you guys know what the slang is for a policeman that will take bribes?
No, Holly.
No.
Okay. Well, good. I get to teach you a word. Yay! I want to put it in caps. So, as policemen who take bribes are called dirty. They're dirty cops.
Dirty cops.
And a lot of times we don't even actually say cops. A lot of time we'll just say dirty. They are dirty.
Dirty.
Uh,
Yeah.
so that is the slang uh, for the policemen who take bribes. I don't know if we use that for anybody else. I don't think we do. I think it's just that one, just that film. So, okay, let's go to the next one. Discrimination in the workplace. Is that ethical or unethical? Um,
Unethical.
Unethical. Do you agree, Ramon?
Yes, sure.
Okay. Okay. Have you guys experienced discrimination in the workplace, or have you seen it?
Mm,
No, in the workplace, no.
No.
me-
No.
No, personally, no.
Okay. I don't know if I have or not. But it wasn't outright blatant. Um, I'll write down that word. Blatant is it means obvious. It wasn't obvious, but for example, when I was in the telephone company, there was an older man. He was in his maybe late 40s, mid to late 40s or early 50s, and he wanted to be promoted, and he was really trying to be promoted. He had the experience, but he had really bad body odor.
Mhm.
And do you guys know what I mean by that?
No.
No,
Body.
Holly.
I mean,
Okay, I just wrote it down. Body odor.
okay.
If you have body odor, he smelled.
Yes, yes, yes. I know
Ah,
because
And so there was, he wasn't going to get promoted because of that. So I don't know if that was a legitimate discrimination or not. So,
yeah.
mm,
but people couldn't respect them because of that. And I ended up leaving the company and moving to Korea to teach English. So I have no idea what happened. Whether he, but my team members were all complaining about him, and my boss was like, okay, I'll talk to him, don't worry. So But I remember him telling me that he wanted to get promoted, and I looked at him and I was like, "Well, dude, you need to take a shower." So I didn't say it, but I was thinking it, you know.
Mhm.
It's very funny.
So, yeah. So that's to me, if it were discrimination, it wasn't blatant. It wasn't obvious, and it may have been kind of a fair discrimination. So, but I haven't personally seen any women or minorities being discriminated against because they're women or because they're minorities. I've never seen that personally. So, exploiting workers, is that ethical or unethical?
It's unethical.
It's unethical.
Ethical or
Unethical.
unethical? Okay. Can you guys give me an example of a company that would exploit their workers? Can you guys think of any?
Yes, for example, when the salary is low and the employee makes the employers work much or more hours than are in the normal in the
Contract?
contract.
Okay.
Yes, or paying
Okay.
less than the minimum salary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is one. And can you think of any others? Well, the one I can think of is hiring somebody at a lower salary, and then giving them the duties of somebody who's at a higher salary.
Right. Yes.
Mhm. Yes.
That's one. But have you guys ever been in a situation or seen the situation where people were exploited? No?
Personally, I have never seen, but I have heard and read many things about it. People, because here we have a minimum wage, and if someone pay below the minimum wage with the same work time, which is 44 hours a week, it's a crime. It's like exploiting, and usually people or companies which do that pay a fine, and they have to pay all the difference to the employee, and it's not so common anymore because of that. But in the past, people normally used to say it was common.
Yeah. Okay. Have you seen or heard of any of this? No, David, you said you hadn't.
No, Holly, I hadn't.
Yeah, I was kind of involved in a situation like this in my last job. We were some trainers. We were corporate trainers, and we were all hired as management. And for the first 6 months, we were hired. We were more or less treated as management, and but during that time, they required that we work 12-hour shifts. We had to work from 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. And for probably about 3 weeks they did this, 3-4 weeks maybe, and then after everything was said and done, after the first 6 months, they went ahead and demoted all of the trainers. And by that time I had moved on to a different job, but they demoted all the trainers to an hourly instead of a salary, and they were no longer management.
What's the word you use? Is demoted?
Demoted, yeah. That's just the opposite.
Type it?
I will type it, yeah. It's they were demoted. That's opposite of promoted. So if you're
Okay.
but if you're promoted, you move up, right? If you're demoted, you move down. And so anyway, all my colleagues have sued the company. So and they, but when they did the demotion, they promised us that because of all the overtime that we had done, they promised us to pay the overtime, and that was a year ago, and I'm still waiting for this money. So
yes, every time they promise something.
Yeah. So whether I get it or not, I doubt it. But it would be nice if they would keep their word. But unfortunately, because of those kind of things, the company was brand new to Boise, and one of the reasons they came to Idaho was because Idaho does not have a very high standard of people going to university. So they thought they could hire kids fresh out of school and pay a low wage. And then they got here and they learned that was not the truth. Idaho is not like that. So they were from out of Virginia, and they were just kind of arrogant about our state. And so they are closing this month. They came less than 2 years ago, and they're now closing. They've all told probably hired and laid off about 2,000 workers. So but they were kind of more or less exploiting workers. Whether it was intentional or unintentional is only the decision makers know. So anyway, let's go to the next one. Respecting the environment. Is that ethical or unethical?
Ethical.
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 Ethical. Okay, question for you. Is there have you ever seen companies who have disrespected the environment in your countries?
Yeah, sometimes we see it. Despite of having some specific laws for this kind of crime, sometimes we normally see it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, I'm going to quickly give you some language feedback real quick, Ramon. Despite is despite without of. So despite the situation, okay? Now, if you want to use of, you would say in spite. In spite of.
Yeah, in spite of. But does it have the same meaning?
Yes, despite and in spite of have the same meaning. The only difference is despite does not have the of.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the only difference. They mean the exact same. They're used the exact same way, except the preposition of. So,
okay.
But you can't say in spite without the of. It's dependent on they are dependent on each other. So, okay. All right, let's go on to the next one. Employing ethnic minorities. Is that ethical or unethical?
Ethical.
Okay. Question for you. If say for example, there's 3 candidates, and one is a white male who is the most qualified. One is a minority female who is the least qualified, and one is a minority male who's kind of middle of the ground. Which one should the company hire?
For me, the white female, because it's the most knowledge person in the group.
Okay, so you'd say the most qualified, regardless of even though this person is a white male, a white man. Okay, who would you hire, Ramon?
Yeah, it's the same thing. They're more qualified regardless the color or opinions or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because some companies have what is called a quota, and so they have to hire a certain number of blacks, a certain number of whites, a certain number of Asians, a certain number of different ethnic groups. And they might have a white man who is the most qualified, but they have too many white men in their organization, so they'll hire the least qualified person.
Okay, we do have quota over here, but quota here is just for universities and in public service. For instance, if you try a test to work in the public service, there is kind of quotas for colors and something like that. But we have other quotas here on universities for anyway for quotas, but we have social quotas. For instance,
Hmm.
I study my whole life in a public school, and I don't
Uh-huh.
have enough money to pay, and I have a special quota to on the university, on the public university.
Uh-huh. Oh, wow. Okay,
Mhm. But
so
yes, but
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
Go
No,
ahead.
no. And we don't have when they don't have this kind of quota on the private companies.
Okay, so the private company, yeah, and in the States, I think a lot of private companies will have it, especially if they work with public companies. So if they are a
Mm.
provider or a vendor to the government, they will have this quota. Uh,
Mm.
but of course, it depends on the industry and the company. But it was really big back in the 80s because of discrimination, and equal rights and things like that. Um, so it became a very big thing. I don't know anymore if it's as big in the private industry as it was once was. So, um, all right. Next one.
Holly, sorry, I
Yeah.
have a question for you.
Yeah.
Since the president is Barack Obama, well, the people is seeing the minorities like the same, or they have gained more respectful, or is the
Um,
same?
well, I would say being the problem with my perspective is I live up in the north, number one, where we have it's just basically whites and Mexicans up here. So we don't have a lot of huge minorities. So I can't really tell you. Um, you know, sorry, I can't really say whether one way or another.
Okay.
I personally, because I don't live in that part of the
Mhm.
U.S., I I um, um, I don't know if the black people who say there's all kinds of discrimination, whether that's true or not. However, my brother lives down in
Mhm.
Missouri, and he's married to a African American lady, very nice lady, and I've never really talked to him about it, but he would have a different perspective because they are in a what we call a biracial marriage. Um, he's white with red hair, and she is black. So
Yes,
um,
it's a mix.
yeah,
Mm.
and it's interesting because she's also a pastor of a church, so he's like the pastor's wife. So,
Mhm.
and she's a pastor and he's a nurse. So
It's
Wow,
an
that's
excellent
interesting.
combination.
so but
An
it's
interesting combination.
yeah, and it's kind of opposite, because usually women
Mm.
are nurses and men are pastors. So
Yes.
so yeah, they're great. So anyway, let's go to the next one. Using company facilities for personal use. Is that ethical or unethical? What do you guys think?
Unethical. Unethical.
What do you think, Ramon?
Yeah, I guess it's unethical, but every time we see people doing that, especially people from managers on and directors.
Yeah, yeah, and also the fact that people they're there for so long. Especially like at the company I was working at, we had to even managers as in management. I couldn't leave for more than an hour, so for lunch. I couldn't go and take 3 hours to go run an errand and then come back. I had to be at work at 7 and I couldn't leave until 4. You know, even in management, and it was just amazing, and that was like that. But so many people would use their facilities if they could for personal use.
Mm.
Yes, yes, of course. Many
Yeah.
people do it.
So, all right.
Uh, for example, we can say that using company facilities is, for example, when you hire a relative.
Um, Yeah, that's called, actually in English that's called nepotism. If you
Can you type it, please?
Yeah, so hopefully I can spell it right. Bear with me.
Hmm.
Nepotism. I think that's right.
And almost the same thing here.
Yeah.
The
And
same one.
is it the same word in Portuguese?
And in Portuguese, we have just to add the letter O in the end.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, nepotismo.
Nepotismo.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, and who knows? It could be originally a Portuguese word. We don't know. So, but yeah.
Mhm.
So that's what that is, and whether that would be part of this, I think this is more like using the copy machine, or using company time to make appointments, planning
Mm.
parties, planning your child's birthday party while using company time and stuff like that.
Yes.
Using the company car to carpool your children across town every day. You
But
know,
I think many people do that.
yeah. So I think it's pretty common,
Yes,
especially
it's quite
especially
common.
the copy machine.
Yes, I would
And the
say
car,
that.
they use the car for personal use.
Yeah, well, I think the car. It depends on the situation. Like I had a student once who he ended up selling his personal car because he had a company car, and he was allowed to use that car for personal use. So depending on what the contract is like, whether that's
Oh,
unethical or ethical. So
yes, of course. It depends on the situation.
yeah, but like for example, this one company that I taught at, they were telling me that all of their employees had a American Express credit card,
Oh wow. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
and some of the employees would use it for personal use and then just try to pay it off after every payday. So and it was I remember that when they were talking about it, they weren't sure whether it was ethical or not to really do that, but it was commonly done in this company. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So which of these activities take place in your business or industry? Are both of you students? So Ramona, are you
Mm.
working?
Yes.
You are
Mm-hmm.
working.
I
Okay.
will.
Okay. So
And I guess, let me see here. The first one, normally people here treat employees with respect,
mhm.
and the other one using company facilities for personal use.
And that
Sometimes
uh-huh.
I see it, but other one are not common here. For instance, employing ethnic minorities, because at least on my city we are, I guess, same thing. And it's interesting here because no one can define if you are from a group or another one. You need to say. And for instance, here, if you have a blonde hair, but you say you black, for the government, you're black.
Okay. So but nobody really checks to see.
No, no,
Question.
no, no, nobody checks and nobody can tell. Because if someone tells something and you believe it's a prejudice, they can sue you.
Uh-huh. Yes, that's what I was going to ask you. In Europe, it's really common on resumes and in interviews to state your age, your family status, whether you're married, single, and how many kids you have. It's very, very normal. And you also put on your CV or on your resume a picture of yourself. And in the
Mhm.
U.S., it's pretty much against the law. Even if you have a baby bump and it's obvious that you're pregnant, it's against the law to ask when the baby is due. And it's
Oh,
against,
really?
yeah, it's against the law to ask any personal questions, because if you don't hire a person and you have asked that question, you could get sued for discrimination. So we don't put dates on our resumes. Sometimes we do, but a lot of times they say not to put the dates on the resumes, and not to put, especially like when you graduated university and all that kind of stuff. So because they can pretty much tell how old you are based on like especially high school graduation. You just don't put any of that on in the States, but in Europe it's very common. How about in South America? Do you guys put personal details on your resume?
Yes, it's very common. Before, we have to put the photograph in the resume, in the curriculum, and we have to put your birth date, if you are single, married, your status. You have to put basically a lot of personal information that is, I think that is not appropriate. It's not something that is important for them.
Okay.
But yes, the companies take advantage of that and investigate everything about you.
And they can typically discriminate because of that too.
Yes, yes, right.
Okay. And Ramon, how about in Brazil?
Well, people here normally used to put the birthday and the marital status, the civil. How can I pronounce it? Is marital status or civil status?
Excuse me, on what? How do you pronounce what?
Can I use the word marital status?
Marital status, yeah. Marital status. And as far as how to pronounce it, the T is like a D. So here, let me write this on the board. We would, for marital, we would say marital.
Okay.
Marital status. Marital. So anyway, so you do put that on the CV. Is there a potential that people get discriminated against because of that?
I don't think so. Personally, I haven't had problem with that, but not every people put it. Marital status, for instance, and photos is not so common. People don't put it anymore because in the past people used to do. But I guess yes, I don't think so. I don't think it's a problem.
Okay. Yeah. I got a job right after I came back to the States. I was teaching online and I ran into a person and she encouraged me to apply for an opening in their job. And since it was a full-time job with benefits, I applied. And it was a very European CV, and I had my picture there and all kinds of stuff. And I guess that's one of the reasons they hired me, was because it was such a unique CV. So it was very interesting. So all right, let's go on. Fair trade. Oh, okay. Let's read the following text about the fair trade movement and put the words in bold next to their correct definitions on the next page, okay? So, David, could you read this first paragraph?
Sure, Holly. Fair trade is a movement that aims to help producers in developing countries obtain better trading conditions and promote sustainability. The movement supports the payment of a higher price to producers and ensures that social and environmental standards are met. Many products are made by fair trade producers, for example, coffee, cocoa, sugar, tea, honey, cotton, wine, clothing, chocolate, flowers, and gold. Fair trade is making a real difference to the lives of more than 7 million farmers, workers, and their families in dozens of developing countries.
Okay. Now, as far as pronunciation, this word you pronounced like Spanish.
Spanish, cocoa.
Yeah. So in English, we actually don't pronounce the A. So it's cocoa.
You're right. Okay,
Yeah.
we remove the A. Cocoa. Okay.
Cocoa. Yeah, we pronounce it. We spell it like Spanish because I think it's probably from Spanish.
It's the same. Yes.
Yeah, but we pronounce it without it. So, all right, Ramon, can you read the next one?
Yeah, sure. So when a product carries the Fair Trade certification logo, it means the producers are traders and traders have met fair trade standards. Fair trade producers typically either work together in cooperatives or their organizations with a democratic structures or work for employers who pay them in a decent wage, guarantee the right to join trade unions, ensure health and safety standards, and provide adequate housing where relevant.
Okay, so certification. There was, okay, this word right here. In English, in British English, they'll say cooperatives, how you said it. In American English, we actually kind of combine this part for one sound, and we'll say cooperatives. So it's
Cooperatives.
cooperative. So it's like a W right here where this is. It's not really a W, but it's a silent one. Cooperatives. Yes?
So every time I see the prefix co, should I pronounce like that?
No. That's
No.
in British English, in American English we don't have we don't have it like we actually spell it like this. Where in British they put this right here. So for them, it's a co and then operatives. So yeah, so a lot of times if you see it like this, then you know it's more or less British English, but it would be cooperatives. Where in American English we say cooperatives. So for us, it's the pronunciation is more cooperatives, like that. Where they in British English, cooperatives. My understanding how they pronounce it is they will go. They do co and then operatives. So the only difference is we actually don't stress the first part, and then we have this wa sound, cooperatives. Cooperative. Actually, I think that I put in it cooperatives, and then it's right. Okay, and that is basically the difference between the two. And this one is American English, and this one is British English. So,
okay.
Right. Next one, I'll read this one. Fair trade determines a minimum price paid to producers. The price covers their average costs of sustainable productions and acts as a safety net for farmers at times when world markets fall to very low levels. In addition to the price, there is an additional sum of money called the fair trade premium. This money goes into a communal fund for workers and farmers to use to improve their social, economic, and environmental conditions. All right, so let's see if we can match these words in black to their definitions. So what would be, number one, organizations that represent workers and protect their rights?
Let me think.
A communal fund? No, sorry.
No.
No.
Cooperatives.
No, cooperatives are companies that they work together. Like a cooperative would be like a group of farmers who work together, and then they work together and they start a company together.
Fair trade, trade unions, sorry.
Trade unions, yeah. So the answer would be trade unions. So so a trade union will represent workers and protect their rights.
Just
yes.
trade unions, right.
Okay.
Sorry, I have a question, Holly. Trade unions are the same word for example, when the employees in a company make a group for fight for their rights, but in companies, is the same?
Yes.
Trade unions?
Yeah.
Okay.
And one of the things that I've learned is trade unions are different in different countries. In the U.S., the trade unions are based on the company, and maybe that's how it is in Colombia. So you join a company, and if you're at a certain level, you have the option, or you don't have the option. And in my case, I wasn't given the option to join the union. And then you are you have representation, and they watch out for your rights.
Yes.
However, in Finland, how it was is it's based on your profession. And so if you were an engineer, you joined an engineering trade union, or if you were a teacher, you joined a teacher trade union. And if you were a manager, you also had a trade union that you were part of. So every level of the organization was protected by a private trade unions that did not have anything to do with the company. It was very confusing for me at first. How is it in Brazil? Is it based on the company, or is it based on the profession?
We have these trade unions, but they are not based on the company, and there are many of them. But every company is obligated by law to follow some rules of the trade unions. For instance, if it's an IT company, there is a specific trade union for people and who work on this trade union. Okay? And if you are an engineer, there is another one, and they have some rules. But the rules they have on the trade union couldn't be up to the constitution. They just help the employees with some questions or something like that. But it's the same thing you described.
Okay, yeah. So what you just described, Ramon, was exactly how I understood Finland to be as well, and I think most of Europe is like that. Where in the U.S. and it sounds like Colombia, it's all based. You're part of a union if you join a company that has union representation. So it's however, most companies, like for example, I joined, my first job after university was at AT&T, and that was the biggest phone company at the time. And because I was not management, I was forced to join Communication Workers of America. So it was a union that was for all of those telephone company workers, but it was, the reason I was able to be associated with it was because of the company I worked for. Where if I worked for, let's say for example, a third-party vendor who was also a telephone company, but maybe a smaller one or something like that, maybe I would not have to join the union because the union has nothing to do with that company, or that company has nothing to do with the union. So it's very different. So, all right, let's go to the next one. What is the poorer countries of the world, especially in Africa, Asia, and South America?
Developing countries.
Yeah. Okay. Developing countries. Okay. And a sum of money collected for a group of people.
It's a communal fund.
Yes.
Communal. How can I pronounce this word?
A communal fund, just like you said it. A communal fund.
Communal.
And I can't even remember how to spell it. Okay. Communal fund. And then that comes from community, is where it comes from. So, okay, a system for helping people who have serious problems and no other form of help.
Sustainability?
No. Sustainability is when like a community is able to make it through the year without any help from outside sources. So.
A communal fund.
And no, we just did that one. How about this one? A safety net. So
safety net.
A safety net. So this is a system for helping people who have serious problems and no other form of help. So that's called a safety net. Many people personally will keep a savings. They will keep an emergency fund in their savings account to use as a safety net, right, in case they lose their job. So that's the meaning of a safety net. Okay, the ability to continue over a long period of time without damaging the environment.
Sustainability.
Yes. Yes. Sustainability. Okay, companies that are owned and managed by the people who work for them.
Communal fund.
No.
Cooperatives.
Yeah, cooperatives or cooperatives. We have I just read an article in the newspaper yesterday about a local grocery store here in Idaho. It's actually up in the Northwest, and they have many people who have worked for the company for 20 or 30 years, and when they retire in their 50s, they will be millionaires.
Oh, really? Wow.
Because it's a cooperative, and every term they get money put into a fund because they are part owners of the company. And I was reading this newspaper going, man, why didn't I do that? I mean, this guy, he cuts meat and he'll be a millionaire when he's 55. So, okay, next one, number 7. An acceptable amount of money paid to a worker for his or her work.
A decent wage.
A decent wage.
A decent wage, yes.
Okay.
A decent wage. And satisfactory and good enough.
Adequate.
Adequate. So adequate.
Adequate.
So, okay. Okay. Let's see, where are we as far as? Oh, we're out of time. So. Yeah. So I would encourage you guys to, if you're interested in this, to go ahead and download the worksheet and look at it on your own time, because the more you study, the more you improve, of course. And so if you haven't already downloaded it, here is the link for that. So I want to thank you both for your conversation and discussion. I thought it was very good, and you all have a great evening. So Ramon, I think it might be time for you to go to bed. So maybe after 1 or 2 more classes, I don't know. And so continue to have a good evening. David, I think maybe is it 10 o'clock for you now?
Yes, it's 10 o'clock. You're right.
Okay, and Ramon, it's 1 a.m. for him. So.
Oh, yes, later.
Yeah. So, and it's 8 p.m. for me. So, okay. Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Holly. See you later. Take care.
See you later. Bye.